I'm Jason Las Vegas, and these are my 2025 NFL Week 2 picks. Okay, so it is currently 8:06 a.m. here in Las Vegas, Tuesday, September 9th, 2025. The NFL Week 2 lines have been released, so let's get into my picks. The first game of the NFL Week 2 season will be the Commanders on the road versus the Packers. I lean towards the Packers. I don't really like betting Thursday night games, injury report, short week, travel. There's a lot that goes on there. But so I'm not gonna bet this game. I lean towards the Packers. I will be putting the Packers in a few teasers, but a Thursday night game, I have no idea who's gonna win those games. I just stay away from them, except for the Thanksgiving game. But for most season, I just stay away from them. The next game will be the Buffalo Bills on the road versus the New York Jets. Jets coming off of a loss to the Steelers. They gave up 4 touchdowns to Aaron Rodgers. Bills coming off of a win over the Ravens. Bills were down by like 15 points in the fourth quarter, like 4 or 5 minutes, 6 minutes. Fans were leaving the stadium. Josh Allen threw for like 250 yards in the fourth quarter. So there's no way the Bills lose to the Jets. I'm not going to give a minus 6.5 points to the Jets. Jets, I don't know, did they cover versus the Steelers? I can't remember. They probably did. I think the line was 3, right? I can't remember if they covered versus the Steelers. But with this being a division game, I could see this being a field goal or something like that. 3.5, 6.5 is a lot of points for a road team. But Josh Allen, MVP last season, coming off of an MVP week last week, right? Looks like he's gonna head to another MVP. I don't expect the Bills to lose to the Jets. Next game will be the New England Patriots versus Dolphins. Patriots coming off of a home loss to the Raiders. Dolphins coming off of a road loss to the Colts. Dolphins offense looked terrible. I don't think they scored any touchdowns. Gave up 30 points to Daniel Jones and the Colts. Patriots, man, their defense looked terrible, right? Geno Smith is a good player, but giving up 362 yards to Geno Smith in the first game on the road with a defensive minded head coach. These two teams both suck. Whoever wins this game, they shouldn't even be proud. The loser of this game is going to be even more trouble. I'm not betting on this game. There's just no way possible. Next game will be the Jaguars getting 3.5 points versus the Bengals. Jaguars coming off of a win over, I believe it was the Panthers. So that doesn't count for much. And the Bengals coming off of a win over the Browns, which counts for a lot because that was a division game. Bengals offense, I don't know what's going on there, right? They had 7 total yards versus the Browns in the second half, right? They won the game by 1 point. You can't, if you're going to give me 3.5 points for the Jags, who I believe could win this game outright, I'm gonna take 3.5 points. Even if the Bengals somehow win this game on a last second field goal, I could still cover. If this was 2.5, I probably would stay away from it, right? If it was like Bengals minus 2.5, I don't know if I would bet on the Jags. But like I said, you got to take underdogs in the NFL season. So I wouldn't mind taking, from all the other underdogs that we've seen so far, the Jaguars are definitely one of the best underdogs and definitely could win this game outright. And we'll see. Both of these teams are definitely in the playoff hunt. A good win. These are going to be a solid win for whoever wins this game. The loser, there'll be some questions and things like that, but they could stay in the playoffs with a loss to one of the, to the Bengals or the Jags. But the winner, definitely pay attention to. The next game will be the Cleveland Browns on the road, plus 10 points, 10.5 points versus the Ravens. I think a couple of minutes ago, this line was like 12.5 points. I don't know, did someone just get injured or something for 2 points to drop? But it is a Tuesday. The lines are just dropping. It's 8:10 in the morning, so the lines will be jumping all day and for the rest of this week. But for that point, I wasn't going to take the Ravens plus or minus 12.5, but I will take the Ravens on a money line situation. Ravens lost on the road versus the Bills gave up a lot of points. How much did they give up? 41, 42 points? That's a lot of points for a Ravens defense. And the Browns lost at home to the Bengals. I don't think the Browns are going to win too many games this season. And I definitely do not see the Browns beating the Ravens at home. I definitely don't see that happen. So I'll just take the Ravens minus 6.5. Minus 650 on a money line situation. Next game will be the New York Giants on the road versus the Dallas Cowboys. To me, this is kind of an easy. You take Dallas Cowboys, 6 points. This is not 7.5. That would be a little bit too much. But I definitely have this Cowboys as a touchdown or better than the Giants. The Giants was one of the worst performing teams, in my opinion. I was very, very disappointed in the Giants defense, right? I'm not expecting too much from that offense until they put Jackson Dart in, but I think they targeted Neighbors like 15 times or something like that. That may be wrong or something like that, but I can't remember. But he was the most targeted player on their team. The Cowboys are going to lock in on him. And besides that, Neighbors is the only threat the Giants have. They don't have a threat on the running game. They don't have a threat in the quarterback. So there's no way possible this Cowboys offense is not, stacked enough to score, more than 6 points than the Giants. I'm taking the Cowboys minus 6. I think this should be one of the largest. This should be where the Ravens and the Browns are at, right? I'm surprised it's this close. I'm actually a little bit surprised. I think, Dak Prescott looks very well. This game starts 21-0, 14-0. There's no way possible the Giants beat this Cowboys. It's impossible. Next game will be the Rams giving 5.5 points to the Titans. The Titans looked a little bit better than I think people expected. At home on the road versus Denver. Rams. Who did the Rams play in week 1? I think they played the Texans, right? The Rams played the Texans, played pretty good on defense, right? I'll take the Rams on a money line situation, right? I don't want to give too many points here. Titans, I would be a little bit surprised if they won, right? Like, if you think about it, the Rams kind of look like a playoff team, right? So they shouldn't be losing to teams like the Titans, but a little too many points. I have this closer to like 3, maybe 3.5. The Rams get a nice win on the road, but 5.5 is a little bit too much, even though I do believe the Rams should, are definitely a score better than the Titans. But Titans definitely kept it a lot closer than I expected for Cam Ward in his first game on the road in Denver, right? Denver made the playoffs last season, and I don't know, Denver's offense looked pretty terrible in that game. So it could have been that. It could have been the Titans' defense. But I think the Rams' offense is good enough to handle this Titans' defense. And I think the Rams' defense is better than the Titans' offense. So I'll take the Rams on a money line situation. The next game will be the Bears getting 6 points versus the Lions. What do we do here? This is too many points, right? Like, are you kidding me? Am I wrong? I know the Lions, I think they only scored like 1 touchdown versus the Packers, and that was in like garbage time. But the Bears coming off of a home loss to the Vikings, that was very disappointing. That was a very disappointing loss. My biggest problem, wasn't my biggest problem? Well, one of my biggest problems with the Bears was their special teams play. Like, I know no one noticed it, but, they gave up a 59-yard field goal. They missed the field goal. They were giving up long punt returns. They were giving up long kickoff returns. I felt like that Bears special teams just played horrible, right? But the Lions, they didn't look good at all versus the Packers. And the Packers could be easily the best team, but with this being a division game, 6 points is just too many points. The Bears, they didn't look that bad versus the Vikings, right? Like, they really didn't. And with it being a division game, I don't think the Bears win this game, which is going to give a lot more talk to the Ben Johnson, Williams talk. But I think the Bears could keep this close. This should be closer to like a 3.5, maybe 4 points at the most. I'm a little bit surprised it's 6 points. So 6 points is too many points. I don't think, like I said, I really don't think the Bears could win. I don't think they win this game, but 6 points, I'll take 6 points. That's good enough for me. Next game will be the Seattle Seahawks getting 3 points on the road versus the Steelers. Metcalf, revenge game, right? Metcalf, Steelers looked pretty good. They gave up a lot of points versus the Jets, but the Jets were like kind of run heavy. I don't really see that with the Seahawks, I think they're going to have to try to get into a shootout with the Steelers. And I think that Steelers offense is pretty good. The only problem is the Steelers offense, they didn't cover versus the Jets, right? Like, I'm a little worried about that. Their defense did give up a lot of points to the Jets, right? So for that reason, the Seahawks, they didn't cover their first week. They lost at home versus the San Francisco 49ers. So both games, neither team covered in week one. But I'm pretty sure the Steelers should win this game. Like the Steelers, they just, before the season, we're like, they're not going to do it again. They're not going to make the playoffs. But the Steelers, they could probably start this season at least 2-0. Seahawks, this is definitely not going to be an easy win for the Seahawks. Like I said, Aaron Rodgers looked really good. NFL Week 1 versus the Jets. Maybe he was just spinning it because he knew that defense well, and we're going to get a good matchup here versus the Seattle Seahawks defense. But if Aaron Rodgers with Sanu on Metcalf, right, this offense could be really cooking, especially if they could get more into a little bit of a run game. The play action will work even better. So I'm going to take the Steelers to win this game. I'll probably tease the Steelers down. I don't even mind -3, but because this is a parlay, I'll just take the Steelers on a money line. The next game will be the San Francisco 49ers -4 on the road versus the Saints. I think the Saints are one of the worst teams in the league, right? And like I said, I mentioned that this 49ers on the road, this will be their second week on the road. They went up to Seattle and they covered. Someone's saying some stuff about Purdy may be hurt. I checked the injury report. It says something about his toe. So I don't think Purdy's that hurt. The Saints, the only thing I worry about with the Saints, with it being +4, is that I think Ratliff threw the ball like 47 times. I know he threw it like +40 times. And with things like that, that's very easy for them to cover, backdoor cover. So I feel like the 49ers should win this game, right? I don't know if I could put them on against the spread, especially if Purdy doesn't play because of his toe or something like that. But either way, if Purdy doesn't play, Christian McCaffrey is still the best player on the field by far. Kettle was out a few weeks for the 49ers. I don't know how much that's going to hurt that offense, but I'll take the 49ers. Even if Purdy doesn't play, I think the 49ers are better than the Saints. The Saints are going to win, or not going to win too many games this season. I don't expect the Saints to beat the 49ers. The next game will be the Carolina Panthers +6.5 on the road versus the Cardinals. You know what? I don't like the Carolina Panthers. I have no idea. I feel like they're going to bench Bryce Young once again. I think he threw 2 interceptions NFL Week 1. So for that reason, I'm going to take the Cardinals. The Cardinals played the Saints. I don't know if they covered in that first week. I took them in a few parlays to cover. I don't know if they covered, but their offense looked good enough. The Panthers' offense is terrible. Like I said, I believe Bryce Young threw 2 interceptions. Cardinals, once again, they could be good. You know, that division, that West division, once again, did all the teams, no, obviously not all the teams won because Seattle lost, but, you know, without, Cardinals won, Rams won, 49ers won. This is a really good division. Cardinals cannot lose. So, they can't lose to the Panthers when you're in a division with the Rams, the 49ers, and the Seahawks. So this is an easy win. I should take the Cardinals on the money line, but we want to get some against the spread bets here. So I'll take against the spread. I'll take the Cardinals. I'm going to bet against the Panthers. Just hammer them all season long. I mean, it's not even going to be close. Next game will be the Broncos on the road versus the Colts. Colts getting 2.5 points. What should we do here? Because Bo Nix and that Broncos defense, they won their first game at home versus the Titans, but the Colts beat up the Miami Dolphins at home. I don't have a pick here. I really don't. This should be a good game, right? I feel like the winner of this game, they definitely could be making the playoffs, and even a loser of this game. This is another one of those games that the loser of this game is like, well, you learn from those losses, and the winner of this game, obviously is one step closer to the playoffs and definitely could be in the playoffs this season. So these are two, middle of the road good teams, two teams that interchangeable could be in the playoffs, last team in. So for that reason, I just don't have an edge, right? I have no idea. Heading into the season, I would favor the Broncos, and Daniel Jones, he just looked so good versus that Miami Dolphins defense. I'll just watch this game. I have no edge as far as those two teams. Next game will be the Eagles on the road versus the Chiefs. They just always deal with injuries every single year. Someone's injured, someone's suspended, someone's not showing up. I don't know what's going on there. Eagles, they played the Cowboys at home, right? The Eagles played Cowboys at home, gave up a lot to the Cowboys, right? They did give up a lot of points. Cowboys offense probably a little bit underrated. Chiefs offense maybe a little bit overrated. Definitely with some injuries. I feel like this is a jump ball. But you know what? We want to have some fun. I'm going to take the Eagles -1. Chiefs probably start the year 0-2, coming off of a tough loss to the Chargers. Herbert looked very, very, very good versus the Chiefs. They couldn't stop him. I feel like the Eagles are, they're the champions. They're good enough. I'll take the Eagles -1 on the road versus the Chiefs. Kind of a scary bet because that Eagles defense didn't look great. But like I said, I think the Cowboys offense is just a little bit underrated. Just a little bit underrated. They have some weapons. So I think, and also it was a division game. Eagles definitely want to beat the Chiefs again. You want to beat them, right? Beat them in their home. So I'll take the Eagles against the spread -1. Next game will be the Falcons +4.5 versus the Vikings. Wow. I feel like +4.5 is a little bit too many points, right? I'll take the Vikings to win. Man, Vikings, JJ McCarthy, right? His first, 3 quarters, he didn't look too great, but I mean, he ended the game great. He was like 6 for 8. I think he had like 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter or something like that. It was a pretty impressive performance by a rookie, second year, but a rookie first game of the season for JJ McCarthy. I think at home they're better than the Falcons. Falcons offense looked pretty good. They lost on a field goal to the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are a good team, but I don't think the Falcons are good enough to go into Minnesota to beat the Vikings. So I'll take the Vikings on a money line situation. I'm not going to give 4.5, right? We want to see this Minnesota offense work out the kinks. But I think Minnesota is good enough to win this game. Next game will be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road versus the Texans. Man, I'm disappointed in the Texans. I really, really, really thought the Texans were going to win that game versus the Rams. That offensive line looked terrible once again. My boy CJ Stroud. That's my boy, but I got to give it to Baker Mayfield. If you're going to give me +2.5 with the Buccaneers, I feel like the Buccaneers is one of those teams that by the end of this season, we may look back on and be like, there's no way this team was almost ever an underdog, right? This is clearly a playoff-bound team with someone who could be the MVP, right? Baker Mayfield, right? To say the least, just never gets talked about. But the Buccaneers, I think, you know what? I'm not even going to take the points, right? We haven't taken any underdogs to win outright. I can't believe why. But I think the Buccaneers are better than the Texans. I think the Buccaneers go into Houston and win this game also. So for some reason, we haven't taken any underdogs to win. Now we're going to take the Buccaneers on the road to win. The last game, is that a Monday night game? Looks like we may be missing a game because... Oh, there's two Monday night games next week. How about that? Okay, I didn't notice that. But yeah, two Monday night games next week. The last game of the NFL Week 2 schedule will be the Chargers on the road versus the Raiders. Chargers looked incredible, right? But Geno Smith threw for 362 yards. We haven't taken any underdogs to win. Why not take both underdogs to win on the Monday night games, right? To win outright. We're taking a few points. We'll just take it, right? Because if we hit all the other bets heading into Monday night, why not take both winners, right? Right? Sweat that out. I live in Vegas, so it'd be pretty awesome if Vegas is the last game of the NFL Week 2 schedule and I have to, have a home win for the Raiders while I live in Vegas. So I'm just, not because I'm a Vegas resident, but I just genuinely believe that Geno Smith looked really, really good. Gentee, I believe he had a touchdown. I think he ran for like less than 50 yards, but at some point he's going to have a breakout game. He's going to be good. I know a lot of people are, jumping way ahead of schedule and say, oh, he didn't look that great. He only had 40. It's just one game. It's his first game on the road versus the Patriots. He had a touchdown, but I believe, Gentee will be the running back for the Raiders for many seasons. I'm a little worried about Bowers. I heard he got injured. I don't know if he returned. Maybe that's the reason why the Raiders are underdogs. But either with Bowers in or out, I believe that Geno Smith is good enough to win this game for the Raiders. Okay, so we're going to go with a 13-team parlay plus 95, 658. And we're going to risk $2 to win $1,915.18. Okay, so there you have it. That's my 2025 NFL Week 2 picks. We have a 13-team parlay plus 95, 685. We had the Bills on the money line versus the Jets. Jacksonville Jags +3 against the spread versus the Bengals on the road. The money line, we're taking the Ravens at home versus the Browns. We're taking the against the spread Dallas Cowboys at home versus the Giants. We're taking the money line Los Angeles Rams on the road versus the Texans. We're taking the Bears +6 against the spread versus the Lions. We're taking the at-home Steelers on the money line versus the Seahawks. We're taking the on-the-road San Francisco 49ers at the Saints on the money line. We're taking the Arizona Cardinals -6.5 against the spread at home versus the Panthers. We're taking the Super Bowl champions Philadelphia Eagles -1 on the road versus the Kansas City Chiefs. How about that line? We're going to take the Vikings on a money line situation versus the Falcons. The point spread was just a little bit too high. 4.5 is just too many points for me. We're going to take the Buccaneers on a Monday night underdogs to go to Houston and beat them on a money line situation, and then we're going to take the home team, Las Vegas Raiders at home to win. Underdog Las Vegas Raiders at home to win versus the Los Angeles Chargers. We're betting $2 to win $1,915.18. Let me know your 2025 NFL Week 2 picks. Who's your favorite? Who's your favorite? Who's your underdog? Who's your lock of the week? What's your best pick of the week? I would say my best pick of the week, you don't always have to go against the spread. I feel like, the Vikings on the money line versus the Falcons, that seems, I would say and if you want to go against the spread, I would say the Cowboys -6 versus the Giants. The Giants are terrible. They're not going to win. They're terrible. But yeah, let me know who's your underdog. My underdog, I would say the Jags +3.5. That seems like a good pick. And obviously the Raiders and the Buccaneers, I like them as underdogs. But yeah, let me know your picks, your 2025 NFL Week 2 picks. I'm Jason, Las Vegas. These were my 2025 NFL Week 2 picks. 13-team parlay, $2 bet to win $1,915.18. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the $1 donation button. And please tune in to the next video on this channel. Thanks a million for watching.